Shalom, Kol Halal, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakah HaKodash. Double honors unto the apostles, double honors unto the elder bishops. Salutations to all my fellow laborers doing this work in truth and sincerity, risking their lives and their freedom to do so now more so than never. The would-be judges and the scattered elect that are scattered around the four corners of the earth, that be like unto the speckled bird, the Israelite foreigners among the heathen nations that look like those heathen nations. This is not a black thing. And to the few Akwaf that are listening and learning, to you I say Shalom. This is your brother Malcolm from the branch of the Great Millstone here in Chicago, coming at you another lesson in truth, and to shine a light on the lies which is pushed by Esau Edom, the so-called white man who's really red. Is this guy clearly? Some Edomites are redder than others, but yeah, this guy is truly red. And the angrier he gets, the redder he gets, and he gets pretty angry here. So we're gonna play a lot of this video. Probably play maybe about 10, 11 minutes of it for the most part. But let me get a couple scriptures. And this is the first one is going to be Psalm 64. And the point is in verse 8, but I'm going to start at verse 2. And it reads, "Hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked, from the chief insurrections of the workers of iniquity." Because, you know, Esau Edom, who is the so-called white man who's really red, as you can see on the screen here. And the first came out red all over, like, you know, like a hairy garment. Not that it said like a hairy garment. The garments were red. They dyed garments red. You know, they were hairy, I think they were goat skins, and they dyed them red. So Esau Edom was born looking like one of those red garments. So you can see the both Jimmy Dore here, who's from Chicago, this guy, and his guest, all right, former Congressman Weldon, who was fired for doing his job, all right, and you know, and you can see on the screen, this is all about the September 11 attacks, and then, you know, and then of course on the video, you know, because I'm pretty sure they're gonna put it on this one as well. But, you know, they try to give their breakdown, their control narrative stamp on it. You know, they'll give you the Wikipedia thing. All right. Psalm 64 and 3. "Who whet their tongue like a sword and bend their bows to shoot their arrows, even bitter words." So, you know, Esau uses actual arrows, you know, and then arrows can stand for an actual, you know, for ICBMs and literal arrows. And they definitely use words through documents, through the pen and paper. They destroy people, destroy economies, steal, you know, murder people just with the stroke of a pen. "That they may shoot in secret at the perfect, suddenly they shoot at him and fear not. They encourage themselves in the evil matter. They commune of land snares privily. They say, who shall see them?" So this whole 9/11 thing was all set up so that they can go into Western Asia, that they fraudulently and falsely call the Middle East, so that they could remove Iran from power and control, because they know that the ultimate to rule over Western Asia, they have to remove Iran. You know, that's why that they came down. You know, that one general, and he showed you that they were planning on going to war with 7, you know, Western Asia and North African countries. All right. But it says, "They search out their iniquities. They accomplish a diligent search, both the inward thought of every one of them, and the heart is deep. But God shall shoot at them with an arrow. Suddenly they shall be wounded. So they shall make their own tongue to fall upon themselves. All that see them shall flee away." No one to trust Edomites, and no one to trust the American government anymore. All right, this is the common American citizen. Mistrust for their government is at an all-time high, and with good reason. All right, with good reason. And then you know, when you don't believe them, you know, they weaponize certain words like conspiracy, you know, truth, as he's going to talk about that. You weaponize words to prevent people from speaking about you, so that they do speak about you, you know, all of a sudden it has a negative connotation. That's called controlling the narrative, and that's what you get from America. America talks about Russian, China, and propaganda, and I don't know who started it, you know, if they started it first or America started first, but I'll tell you one thing, America is the greatest at it. And all your mainstream media is propaganda. All right? There's no such thing as like a journalist that goes out within the mainstream media and goes out and risks their lives to get the story, to investigate, you know, to ask questions, go into the danger zone. They don't do that. They all get an email because then they all speak the same thing. They get a printout of what they're to speak and what they're to talk about. And if you can control information, you can control the minds of the people, because why? You've programmed them with the information you wanted them to hear. So it's pretty easy to judge the decisions that they're going to make. So if you tell people that something is dangerous when it really isn't, all right, and the thing that you have to cure and save them is more dangerous than the thing that you're telling them is dangerous, but you feed them the information that the thing the thing that they're you know, that they're afraid of is dangerous, but that your cure and your fix isn't, well, you're feeding them that information over and over again. So of course that's why people made the wrong decision, and you have so many people that have myocarditis and blood clots and sudden deaths and, well, you know, that whole sort of thing. Why? Because you don't have a media that speaks truth. You have a media that that uses propaganda. Point blank, period. They feed you information to sway your thought process. All right? That's what's going on here. So without any further ado, former Congressman Curt Weldon.
That really impressed me at Fort Belvoir. I convinced our Deputy Secretary of Defense to get down and look at it. He agreed with me. We made a proposal in my office on November the 4th of 1999 to create what we call a NOAA, National Operation Analysis Hub, policymaker and warfighters tool to deal with emerging transnational terrorist threats. 2 years before 9/11.
Wow.
At the suggestion of the Deputy Secretary of Defense, I had an FBI vice chairman and the vice chairman of the CIA in my office. The Deputy Secretary of Defense said, I think it's a great idea, I'll manage it. I said, I'll get it funded. The FBI said, we support it. And the CIA said, we don't need it. We don't need it. The biggest problem on 9/11 was none of that data from those 33 classified intelligence programs was linked together. Then I find out. I'm in my office on 9/11 in the Rayburn building, and I get a call, a frantic call, from the Army military people down at Fort Belvoir. We got to see you right away. We got to show you what we were doing. They bring the charts to my office and roll them out on my desk. They had identified every cell of Al Qaeda by name in the world a year earlier. Every one of them. They had identified the linkages to the 5 key cells, including New York. Now, Jimmy, I put this in a congressional record. They tried to stop me from doing it. The Senate wouldn't let any other member of that task force speak. I spoke before the Senate and testified. We had pre-9/11 intelligence that Louis Freeh, not me, Louis Freeh, our former FBI director, said in a Wall Street Journal editorial and on Good Morning America, and I can give you copies of both. He said if we'd have had that information, we could have stopped 9/11 from happening. But
okay, now, like I said, there was an agenda behind this, and a blind person could see this. I want to play this short video that I have in my phone that I'm sure is no longer on TikTok. All right, just to back up what he's saying. All right, so once again, you know that Psalm 64:8, their tongues falling upon themselves. But here it is.
His passport survived the fireball explosion that supposedly cremated him.
Matter of fact, let's do that again.
How could Muhammad Atta's passport survive the fireball explosion that supposedly cremated him, fly out of his pocket, fly out of the incinerated plane, flutter to the ground in the 2 feet of debris, and end up in readable condition in the hands of investigators, all within 48 hours. Why did 19 Muslim men even need passports on domestic flights? How were passports found but not the plane's voice recorders? Why did the hijackers need passports they would never use again after their suicide flights? And why were the 19 accused Muslims not under surveillance on 911 if they were so easy to identify? The conspicuous trail of planted evidence continued 3 weeks after the 911 attacks, when anthrax letters killed 5 people and were clearly worded to throw the blame on Muslims. Death to America, death to Israel, Allah is great. It has since been proven that the anthrax came from a U.S. Army lab and was never mailed by Muslims. There are no airport security videos of any of the 19 accused Muslims boarding any of the hijacked planes.
I forgot how hard that video went. I might have to keep that one. I was going to delete it, but I might keep it. But, oh boy. So when you, like I said, the math is not adding up, you know. And constantly, you know, Esau Edom tries to make 1 + 1 = 3. You know, they try to make 5 and 5 = 11. And if you know, and then you don't believe the science, you know, you're one of those conspiracy freaks. Well, but 5 + 5 is not 11. Oh, oh boy, but that's what we're dealing with here. All right, and they're trying to hide it. This is Isaiah 29 and 15. And it reads, "Woe to them that seek deep to hide their counsel from Yahweh, and their works are in the dark, and they say, who seeth us, and who knoweth us?" So from this thing, they were able to basically hijack and control your freedoms and launch the Patriot Act, which set up the NDA Act, which set up a lot of things that's going on today, which is why they were able to pull off what they did in 2020 with the, with the shutdowns and all that sort of thing. You know, they're in the name of security, when the only people we really need be securing from is from these people themselves. But here you go.
But it gets worse than that. This book, you got to get a copy of it, called Horse Soldiers. It was written about our commanding general of our special forces that ride horses, General Keith Lambert. New York Times bestseller. They made a movie about it. So I didn't know General Lambert, but I got a copy of his book. On page 27, he's interviewed by the author. "General, what were your feelings when 9/11 happened?" And General Keith Lambert says on page 27, "Within seconds, I knew who had done the attack. And I knew it involved Muhammad Atta, because I had been briefed on a top secret intelligence program run by the Army. Yet there's none of that in the 9/11 Commission report. Zelikow led a whitewash."
Wow.
Tony Shaffer, who was one of the lead people on the Able Danger team.
So whitewashed and false history. So basically the narrative that they sold has been put in history books, and little children learn about this, and they're learning fucking lies. American history books lies. And this is not something that happened 200 years ago. This is barely 2 decades ago. So if they can lie about something that practically happened yesterday, how much more so about 200 years ago, 400 years ago, 600 years ago? Esau Edom is just a damn liar, and they cannot be trusted. And if you trust them, you're just stupid.
I wrote the manuscript for that. They tried to ruin his career. He wrote his book called Dark Heart. It was okayed by his commanding general. And then the deep state found out he was writing a book. So you know what they did?
Wow.
They bought all 10,000 copies of the first edition of Dark Heart with taxpayer money.
You hear that?
And they destroyed them.
Damn, so these sons of bitches, these SOBs bought the books with your money. And before they can make circulation, they destroyed them. You know, I often refer to the movie The Count of Monte Cristo, because almost everything spiritual and everything that happens could be linked to that movie. You can find a lesson in that movie. And there's the scene where he's trying to figure out why he was in prison and why why did all this happen? And when he finally put it together, all right, he understood that, you know, the guy burned the letter, which was the only evidence of his innocence, was the letter that he actually got from Napoleon. You know, you'd have to see the movie to understand what I'm talking about. But, you know, when this guy got locked up, he was ignorant. In prison, he learned how to read, write, math, science, different languages, sword fighting, knife fighting. He learned all this from a soldier who turned priest, who taught him all these different languages. And after going over the story over and over again, that's when he realized, you know, that the letter itself, that's what, you know, because the guy that burned the letter to protect his own position, because it was his father, his very own father, who was committing treason, and he was within the government, and it would have made him look bad. He would probably more than likely would have lost his position. So he burned the letter and then had his father killed. All right. And sent the innocent man to prison and had his father killed. And that's what Esau Edom is doing. I mean, they're getting ready to send migrants away to Guantanamo Bay. And that place was built behind what we're watching right now. And there are people in there who got locked up in 2001, 2002, all right, that had nothing at all to do with 9/11. And they're still there. They're still there. So what do you think they plan to do to all these natives, to the Americas, including Native Americans that they've snatched up? And some 30,000 of them are going over to Guantanamo Bay. All right. What do you think they're going to do with these people? All over lies and fraud, man. Okay. Where's that video at? Yeah, here it is.
Is to begin preparing the...
Hold on.
Also signing an executive order to instruct the Departments of Defense and Homeland Security to begin preparing the 30,000 person migrant facility at Guantanamo Bay. Most people don't even know about it. We have 30,000 beds in Guantanamo to detain the worst criminal illegal aliens threatening the American people. Some of them are so bad we don't even trust the countries to hold them, because we don't want them coming back, so we're going to send them out to Guantanamo. Today I'm also signing...
Wow. And remember, Guantanamo, there are people in Guantanamo Bay that have been there for 2 decades that had new children, newborns, 1-year-olds, 2-year-olds. They haven't seen their children are grown now. They've never even laid eyes on them. It's not like you can just go to Guantanamo Bay and go go visit your father. Hadn't seen their wives. Wives have probably moved on, got new husbands. I mean, right? And all over something that is a complete and total lie. Esau is the cruelest, the most heinous and wickedest people that this earth has ever seen. There was no people that do the level of wickedness that Esau Edom does, man. None. All right. This is Sirach 10:8, and it says, because of unrighteous dealings and injuries and riches got by deceit, the kingdom is translated from one people to another. So through these unrighteous dealings and these unrighteous decrees that they make, they cause suffering. And quite frankly, man, it would be better to just be put to death than to be locked up in a place like Guantanamo. And we saw how Esau was over there freaking off on them. All that came out, making them pose naked and, just doing all kind of weird shit to them, putting shit on their balls, just doing Edomite shit. I don't know what it is. Something about Edomite men that like to play with other men's genitalia. They want to touch on your sack, play with your butthole. They trying to stuff. Esau just weird, man. Not only are they evil, they're weird. All right. But let's jump to so you kind of get, I highly suggest that you go and watch this video. And Jimmy Dore's video as of lately, the majority of his videos are just fire all the time. All right. So yeah, we'll start right about here. Fucking
My
commercial.
life in recent years had become
Nobody cares about your
uninspiring,
life, B.
nearly unrecognizable to me.
Hold on somewhere.
And from powerful people. And so when the CIA weaponized the term conspiracy theorist, they did that because people were onto the conspiracy that led to the assassination of John F. Kennedy, which it was a conspiracy. So if you thought it was, they wanted to, even though people are charged with conspiracy to commit crimes every day in every court from coast to coast, they made the term conspiracy some kind of, you're a kook. Even though law enforcement charges people with conspiracies every day. And we know it was a conspiracy to kill John F. Kennedy. And there was certainly, all a conspiracy means is that two people conspired,
two or more,
created a plan to commit a crime. That's a conspiracy. That's all that means. And so what's even more telling is that they have somehow made the term truth into a negative, toxic term. So they call people who want to get to the bottom of the conspiracy around 9/11, they call them conspiracy theorists and truthers. So they've now taken the term truth and made that somehow ugly and toxic. The
same thing with woke. All right. When you sleep, when you believe the MSM, when you believe math that don't add up. All right. And Esau Edom just can't be trusted, and he's being exposed. We just wrap up with a couple more scriptures. Let me go to one of my favorites, Deuteronomy 33:29, and it reads, "Happy art thou, O Israel, who is like unto thee, O people saved by Yahweh, the shield of thy help, who is the sword of thy excellency, and thy enemy shall be found liars unto thee, and thou shalt tread upon their high places." So your enemies are liars. So you Israelites out there, man, you Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, and you scattered, people through the spirit. Some of you know that you look like somebody else, but know that you're Israelite in the spirit. Some of you know. You have to stop trusting in these wicked ass people. Okay? Some of you passing, I just watched a video about some girl who's calls herself, she's white passing because her father's black, but she can pass for being white. All right. There's a lot of people like that. And they're not just black and white, but other nations as well. All right. But knowing that we know that you are who your father is, she understood that she had a certain privilege because she looked white. And she also said that, and when she's around her black side of the family, that she feels safer, and she said from her own assessment, she uses her the way she looks to get advantage in society, but she also was quick to point out the fact that the most fucked up things and the people that do the most fucked up shit and the most dangerous people and the most hateful people are white people. And this comes from a woman who looks like she's white, but she's not. All right. So, that brings us to, give me a second, this is 12 and 10, I think. No, it must be Ecclesiastes. Then I always get those two mixed up. That never trust thine enemy. Yep. Ecclesiasticus or Sirach 12 and 10. Never trust thy enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. So you can't believe anything that comes out these people's mouths, man. They're lying, and right now they're completely and totally divided. All right, because Esau here, Mr. Red himself, and the first came out red all over. It's clearly talking about this guy. All right. He's really angry, man. His son died when they raided his house. They raided his daughter's house. He got fired for speaking. I highly suggest you go and watch the video, man. And truth is coming out, and shameful spewing is upon Esau Edom's glory daily, nonstop. It's just like it's a nonstop avalanche of truth, which they make a bad word, truth. which, matter of fact, one last scripture and we'll wrap it up. 2nd Ezra 6, gotta get it. And 27. And it reads, for evil shall be put out, and deceit shall be quenched. As for faith, it shall flourish. Corruption shall be overcome, and the truth, which have been so long without fruit, shall be declared. And that's where we are. Just like, those planes that went down lately. The plane crashed and the Army helicopter crashed into a jet or something like that. I'm wondering, who was on that helicopter or who was on that plane. That people that, yeah. All right. So anyway, with that, we're going to give all praises, all honor and glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakaha Kwadash, Kwam Yasharala, Abad Babal.